Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rocklaz Radio. On today's show, I'm very excited because the topic of space and astronomy is my favorite, and also art and NFTs. So we have just that person with us, Mike Mongo. So we met. I'm so glad I got to meet him in NFT London, and this is what I'm wearing. This is his sticker with the upside down specs, as you can see. So really fantastic person. And this is about Mike. Mike has since 2007 has been an astronaut teacher. In 2022, he was elected by Uplift Aerospace to be an astronaut on the first ever Web3 commercial crew, Space Plus 5. He's author of children's book Astronaut Instruction Manual, which I'll provide links to. You can check it out, and its follow-up, Kid Astronaut Training Manual, which is going to be releasing in winter 2023. He serves on the board of advisors of Students for Exploration and Development of Space, SEEDS, and he is one of the co-founders of Yuri's Night Space Coast at Kennedy Space Center. He lives in Cape Canaveral, Florida, where he gets to work with many of the world's leading space companies, groups, and organizations, and he practices surfing. You can find him often. You can often find him in cafes, surfinista in Coca Beach, which is working on his phone or talking with as artists, surfers, and friends. When he was growing up, he wanted to be a superhero or an astronaut, and growing up to become an astronaut teacher and an astronaut is both. The best part of his job, as he says, as an astronaut teacher, is knowing and sharing how important the space exploration is for the future success and well-being of humankind and our Earth. We can solve every challenge we face on Earth today: energy, health, sustainability, equality, inclusion, even the illusion of scarcity by solving for space. In addition to training for space, most of his time is spent teaching and connecting with students around the world. His goal is to make sure that every student he connects with importantly understands that tomorrow's job are in space, and they now have permission to live, work, and play in space. Isn't that fantastic? That makes all of us excited. And yes, his upside down glasses is something that is very unique, and they're made that way. So Mike, so glad to have you here. Most welcome to Rocklaz Radio.
How's it going, Tanmay? How are you? Good to see you again. Good to hear your voice.
So glad to have you here. You know, I've been waiting for this discussion since a long time. I was, as I was telling you earlier, they used to call me astronaut or scientist in school after I'd given them a speech about my visit to ISRO, that is Indian equivalent of NASA. So since then, since that period, it has been my interest of searching and doing, but unlike you, it has gone in the backdrop. It is just for reading and for doing it. I really appreciate how you have kept your inner child alive and you're still pursuing it and now going to space. So congratulations on that.
It's very exciting. And I'm 58, so it's a real surprise that I've made it this far at this time.
Wow. Awesome. So, you know, one of the biggest curiosity I had was you have been an astronaut teacher. So you have already read so much about space and you know so much about astronauts and astronomy. So actually going to space, what do you feel like? What are you curious
Seeing the
about?
Earth from space. Seeing the entirety of, taking in the entirety of the planet, getting to see all of it from one viewpoint. That excites. I got goosebumps just saying it too. I'm covered with goosebumps.
Wow.
Yeah. So seeing the Earth from space and witnessing the living organism that is our planet. We don't think of planets as a creature, but that's how I imagine the Earth to be, and I think that the way to really validate that belief and turn it into knowing is to be off planet in low Earth orbit and seeing the Earth from space.
Beautiful. Can you elaborate more on why do you think Earth as an
Of course.
organism in
You can
itself?
compare the Earth to Mars, for instance, nearby Mars, and see the differences between the worlds. You can look at Venus. You can look at all the planets in the solar system, and none of them are anywhere. They're round. They are planets, but they're dead worlds. They don't have the capacities to sustain life for whatever reason, and I just think that we witness or see our world from space, and it's so grand a concept that something so big can be alive that we are struck with an overwhelming awe that people call the overview effect. And that's, I think that the overview effect is just us coming to terms with the fact that something this big can be alive, something as the size of and magnitude of an entire world. And when we think of the world being alive,
Wow.
it changes our relationship to it. It makes us subservient to the world in a way, and grounds us into the spirit of the life of the planet that called us forth as human beings through evolution.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought of it in that way. And I think we got the powers to make even other planets now, as we are talking about Mars.
No. We can
make
discuss it.
it
We do
alive
not
again.
have that authority. We do not have that so-called power. We're not capable of that. There's nothing that we can do that could bring another world to life. We don't have that. We can conceptualize it. We can imagine it, but even us getting to Mars is not within reach. We can get robots there, but for human beings to get to Mars, it takes 8 months to get from here to there when we launch at the right time, and then we got to wait for the orbits to come back around, and then that's about 4 months, and then another 8 months to get back. So it's about 2 years to go to Mars and back. And like spaceships are not that big. And so that would be imagine being in a small space with a few other people for 2 years. No, thanks. I'll go to the moon. It's 3 days there and 3 days back. We can do that. Let's go.
Talking. So your mission, when is it, and what is it going to be about, and through which company are you going?
So we're training right now for
planned?
Blue Origin. Like, this is my phone, and they got my Blue Origin hat on today, and that's a suborbital flight. We're training as a commercial crew, the 5 of us. I'm the senior member on the team. I'm 58. The youngest is 30. The team. The crew is made up of Joan Melendez-Meisner, Cindy Hamilton, Trent Tresh, and Ruben Salinas. Ruben has his seat paid for already. He's got He's got a solo flight coming up, and then we're entering into the funding segment of the mission. We've completed the training. We have a few more things coming up. There's the centrifuge, and we're doing some team building exercise. Like we're going to be doing a sky jumping exercise together. I've never done that, so I'm kind of excited about that even. And the training was amazing. Uplift did a fantastic job. We did it at the Biosphere we traveled a lot, actually. We traveled a great deal. Did a big part of the training at the Biosphere in Arizona, Biosphere 2. And then we debuted the crew at the International Astronautical Congress in Paris in September. And then we did a bunch here at Cape Canaveral. Everybody flew in. We've done some 0G flights, and those were great. I've got another one coming up.
How does it feel like? The closest I've felt to weightless is maybe while swimming or scuba diving. But how does it actually feel like when you are
So I was a
gravity?
free diver growing up, and I want you to know, Tanmay, that I love swimming like life. I mean, I live, the beach is right there, just 250 feet away from me here in Cape Canaveral. And so I'll go out in the morning or in the night and take a quick swim or a dip. And when I was growing up, I used to swim deep. And the reason why is because, like you say, it would resemble how I imagined microgravity to be. And it turns out that it's not anything like that at all. Not at all. And the big difference is that when you're in the water, you can feel the water on your hands when you're doing strokes through the water, and you can feel the drag of the water on your body. And that doesn't exist at all. There's none of that. So you can move your arms all you want. You're not going anywhere when you're floating around in microgravity, unless you touch something. Now, if you touch something, you can push yourself so far and so fast with one finger, and you can shoot across an entire, the whole, from one end of the ship to the other. And so we fly on these customized Go Zero G, I think they're 727s. And people, and when they first get into Zero G, this is my third flight. And when they first get in, a lot of people will just try and stand up or do something regular and literally just launch themselves to the ceiling. They would just you'll be on the ground, you push off the floor, and suddenly you are just crashing into the ceiling. Like just immediately. So it takes some getting used to. I had a person who just pushed off the wall a little bit and in one of the earlier flights and hit my glasses, just barely touched them, and they just came apart into pieces. They all the mass still travels with you as we move through microgravity. So all of that just a barely touching a surface, and suddenly a big quantity of mass is pushing against you. And you know, if you're not stationed, if you're not well footed, you'll be moving with them, and it is a lot of fun. I saw people throw up, of course, vomit, and the crew are fantastic. The other crew, the crew of the Zero G flight, they just basically scoop it out of the air and do it. I mean, like just
that's what I was wondering. How do you
do it so fast? They scoop it right out of the air, and then they do a little spritz of the spray. I didn't smell it. You could see it. It just was there, and then it was gone, and that was fantastic. And one other thing is that I have to say that there is nothing better I've done except for loving another person who loves me back than Zero G. Except for loving someone who loves me back, there's nothing I've done better than Zero G. It is the absolute best, because the cells of our body, every cell in our body is used to gravity. And so when gravity disappears, our entire body knows it. Every part, even our hair, understands that something is different. We feel it in our teeth. It's amazing. Yes.
I have one curious question. Like, can you smell things in space? Suppose you said the vomit is flying, but do the molecules also float, or how does it work?
Of course you'll smell stuff, but it'll depend on the flow of the air in the space. On the space station, a lot of the astronauts I talk with say that the space station does have a smell. It's kind of like a metallic smell. And in the space station on the ISS, we keep fans going so that the air is constantly circulating, because otherwise air behaves like a liquid. And if there weren't fans, pockets of CO2 would form in microgravity. So you would exhale a pocket, and then you would kind of get into a bubble of non-breathable atmosphere. This is actually something that people faced early on. Now we know, so we make, we space teaches us how we get to live in space, and not necessarily. I don't think about living in space in anywhere but near to Earth. I don't know that we can. I really don't believe that we can live away from Earth for that long time.
I want to share a photo with the audience of you in 0G.
Yeah, there's my team. There's our crew. There's Trent, Sydney, Ruben, and Joan right there. That's the crew of the Go 0G flight. That's Tim Bailey behind us.
Wow. So what is going on in your mind when this was clicked?
No,
was this the first flight?
This is one of the later flights. This is I was super excited. See, I love my crew. So the crew is I love those people that you're seeing right there. So what's going through my mind when I'm looking at this photo is how much fun we were having. We had already accomplished, like in the background, you can see at the bottom, there's some science experiments over there that we had already, while we were up there training, we did actual science. We brought a sonogram with us, a new portable sonogram, to see if we could do readings while we were in 0G, which we can. You can see some art on the wall right there, and we brought artists with us to create art, and a number of us participated with that process as well. Dr. Simon Proctor.
So you created art in the space?
Yes.
This art was created in the space?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
We all are connected through art and NFTs. So this was a thing
that's Gabe Weiss, the artist who did that. Those pieces on the wall, that's Gabe Weiss. Yeah. He was on the flight with us.
Wow.
He was one of the people that leapt off the ground and smashed their head into the ceiling. Like he pushed so hard, it scared me. I was like, oh, that hurt. That one hurt. And then he was trying to swim in 0G, and his arms were moving like a little tiny dinosaur. It was so funny.
It's funny to imagine, like everything changes, no? All concept. There's so many minute things, like the thing you shared about the pockets of carbon dioxide. So many new. It's such an adventure, right? There is nothing like for more future things that we all do. Like we cannot expect things will happen where.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, and that's a great way to approach life too. Just not to have expectations. There's an important astronaut saying, you can never prepare to be surprised.
Oh yeah, I love that. That can be a t-shirt quote. You can never prepare to be surprised.
Let's go.
So you spoke about about you spoke about the different companies that are trying to go, and a small going to Mars in such a small capsule would be very like a death sentence. But when Elon Musk says we are in a very nascent stage of the ships, and we really need a ship that can carry thousands of people at one time. So, what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on SpaceX?
Who doesn't love SpaceX? And Starship is the big that's the big prize right now, because Starship will carry 100 people plus 100 tons at a time to space, and that's going to change everything. Because up until now, right now we've got about 640 people total that have ever been to space. 640 people total who have been to space. And in one flight with Starship, we're gonna change that by a sixth. And then Starship is planning on launching several times a year. So, then we're really going to be getting people to space. And I think that matters, because then people get that perspective, seeing how precious this world is. There is no other world like Earth. That's the big takeaway. And appreciating that, most of us take it for granted that we're here, we have life. It's warm mostly, and it's lovely, and there's food, and there's water, and the breathable atmosphere. We just take those things for granted. But there isn't another world like this. In the universe, sure. But the nearest other solar system to Earth, to our solar system, the solar system, because that's the name of our sun, is 4.3 light years away. And that's an incomprehensible distance. People are like, oh, it's only 4.3. Well, a light year is traveling at 186,000 miles per second for a year. So 186,000 miles would, at that speed, if you blink twice, blink, you're at the moon. From here to Earth, which takes us 3 days, if you blink, that's the speed of light. And if you're moving at that speed, to get to Mars takes over 7 minutes. That's how far away Mars is. The speed of light moves so fast that if you blink twice, you shoot a laser beam to the moon and blink twice, the laser hits the moon. A solid, good laser. And if you travel at that speed for 7 minutes, and the orbits are correct, you'll get to Mars. Mars is not close. Mars is far and non-hospitable. And the atmosphere is CO2, and it has no protection from radiation, and it's super cold. The warmest place on Mars is the coldest place on Earth. And the soil is poisonous to us. It has something called perchlorate, which is a salt that, even in the most minute quantity, is deadly poisonous to human beings. So I don't have any desire to go to Mars whatsoever. None. Zero. But getting Starship to space is important, because we can move industry that is pollutive or toxic to our world to space. We can be collecting solar energy, hits our planet, and 90% of it is deflected by our terrific atmosphere. Our atmosphere, which keeps us alive, which prevents us from getting killed by radiation. But we can put satellites outside that atmosphere and collect solar energy 90% at a ratio of 90% greater than here on Earth, and we can beam it back to Earth with harmless microwaves. And then we could be done with coal and oil as our primary source of energy. So yes, Starship and SpaceX is very important, Tanmay.
And now, as you're going to be flying with Blue Origin,
that's my team, Blue Origin.
SpaceX is team. Very popular. Everybody
I'm platform agnostic, so whoever wants to get me to space.
Everybody knows about Elon Musk and SpaceX because it is very popular and it becomes meme very quickly. But Blue Origin, not so much. We know about their Jeff Bezos going to the stratosphere, or I don't know which sphere it was exactly, but traveling there with a team. So what is Space Blue Origin working on, and what are
Moon
their
missions.
goals or
Moon
missions per se?
Yeah, and so there's the New Glenn. That's the big Shepherd. We got this right here. This is their space station. It's called Orbital Reef. This is you can Google Blue Origin Orbital Reef. There's a really cool video about what's going on with that. Excuse me. And I think that what I love about Blue Origin is how it makes space accessible for more people. I love SpaceX, and SpaceX is more aligned with the NASA model of astronaut, where there's a limited number and a few people who can go. And I know their vision is to send a large number of people in space. In the meantime, Blue Origin is making that accessible for us. Blue Origin sent the first teenager to space. Blue Origin sent the oldest person to space. Blue Origin sent Wally Funk, who had been training for space since the 1950s. Who up at that point when she flew, she was the oldest person to go to space, and she did not get to go to space because NASA at that time were not sending women to space. That's how far we have come. That now we can send everybody to space. Anybody gets to go. That's the game. We're still working on disabilities.
How much does it cost?
People with disabilities, so people who are blind, people who have mobility disabilities. I mean, think about somebody who is in a wheelchair going and being in microgravity. They're going to be able to get around so much easier and simpler. And I've got a friend, Zafira, and she's in India, and she's a teenager now, and her brother is autistic, and she has a vision for treatment of people who are autistic and have neurological challenges, going to space and being treated in space. She has this vision, this teenager. Yeah, I know. She's been doing the work for 6 years, and she's 14. I met her at the International Space Development Conference. I read a paper of hers when she was 9.
Wow.
Like, this is and speaking of India, like we talk about SpaceX and Blue Origin. We talk about the U.S. space programs, but ISRO shows the world how to do it on a budget, and then also how to have accomplishments. Like the team that sent the lander to Mars were all women, the ISRO team, and these are great models. I always tell students in India, by the way, I always tell students that they should write a letter to K. Sivan, because chances are he'll write them a letter back, and then they'll have that letter for the rest of their lives. And that's a secret that I tell students. We can write a letter to pretty much anyone. Now, if you're a student and you write a letter to Elon Musk, imagine how many letters Elon Musk gets. So chances are, he's not going to be able to write you back. But there's 8 billion people on the planet, Tanmay. Find somebody else to write a letter to, for gosh sakes. And I talk. Yeah,
handwritten letters?
Yes. Oh yeah,
handwritten letters.
Make sure it's handwritten. Make sure it's legible. If you have terrible handwriting, you can use a computer and then sign it, and then they will almost certainly send you a letter back. That they wrote, and you may wind up getting a mentor. Students write me all the time. Look at this. I mean, holy smokes! I got letters. This one is from Michigan. This one is from Melbourne. This one is from Georgia. This one is from Ohio. This one is from Chicago, California. I get letters. I get letters from India all the time, to tell you the truth, and it costs a significant amount of money to send from India to the U.S. and vice versa. I get to write students back, and when I'm writing a student to India, it's going to cost me at least $2 to send a letter. that's the responsibility of because you never know. I never know when the student I'm engaging with is going to be the next most important person in the world. So I get to.
But within the country, it is very cheap to send by post, So somebody listening in India, do write letters to ISRO and all the people, In fact, last week I had written 2 handwritten letters and sent them by snail mail, as you call, or by post to our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, and the President of India. And that really made me feel nice. Yeah.
People don't know that we have this authority and power that we can do this. And we take a chance and we write those letters and we never know what's going to happen next. Can't prepare to be surprised.
I've invited both of them for this podcast also.
That's the way.
So,
and then you'll be famous and we'll all say we knew you when.
Yeah. But somebody commented on Twitter, is it like writing letter to them? Is it like a one-way relationship where you don't expect anything from that person? So it's like, no, it's more like
one-way relationship.
So it's like, no, it's more like talking to God or sending letter to a God, because in one-way relationship there would be resentment or frustration or anger, but in this, I mean, there's that is not present. You're writing it. If it comes back, great. But even you writing process makes you feel very nice.
It's important. And if we don't do the work, I can tell you what will happen if we don't write the letter. If we don't write the letter, if we don't mail the letter, nothing will happen for sure. But if we write the letter and send the letter, then something can happen. We open the door for something to happen. That's the fact. This is the important thing. We can make it happen just by doing and keep this in mind. Imagine all of the people who talk themselves out of writing the letter. I talk to, when students tell me they don't want to go to space, awesome. Look, they've already moved themselves out of the way for you to succeed. That's the case. When people don't do the work, that's your advantage. You show up, you do the work. You schedule the appointments. You make the podcast happen. You put the technology together. And then you write a letter to the president of India, and then you never know because you're ready. You've done the work. As opposed to somebody who would want to do the interview but hasn't done the work. Same thing, anybody who wants to go to space or writing a letter to anybody about, like, can you imagine being a student and everything we do as a student is for our future self. It's not who we become. It's not, we always say it's for you in the future. It's not. My 10-year-old is here with me right now. They live inside of me. But I am the 58-year-old. So that 10-year-old who did all the cool stuff that they did, or the 12-year-old, or the 16-year-old, they did it for me. They're like time mules. They did it for me. And so for me at 58, I'm doing it for my 60-year-old self. I'm doing it for my 65-year-old self. I'm having this interview to their advantage. So when you interview the president of India, then I get to say, yeah, Tanmay also interviewed me, Mike Mongo. Pow, pow, pow.
Goosebumps. So, Mike, that is absolutely, it's very interesting to be even imagining that. For you personally, to embrace that thing about writing letters, can you share a couple of experience of somebody whom you have written letters to? And that was
Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman to go to space, the Russian. She's still alive, and so I wrote her a letter in where she, like, it's a faraway place in Russia. It's a very unusual place, and then I used Google Translate to actually handwrite in Russian to her to get the letter that I got from her. That's like it's a big deal. And how many people write her? Probably not that many. In fact, how I got it to her was I wrote the city council where she's from, where she lives, and she's on the council there. And I wrote them, and so they delivered the letter, and it took months. And then There you go. And then suddenly I have a prize that I get to carry with me for the rest of my life. So there's somebody there. I've got somebody on my list, by the way. I just put someone on my list yesterday. And one second. Let me get their full name. It is Arnaldo Tamayo Mendez. And that is Arnaldo Tamayo Mendez. He's in his 80s. He's the first person of African descent to go to space. And he flew after Yuri Gagarin in the 1960s. And he's Cuban. And he's a politician. He lives in what's the name of the place in Cuba? I forgot where. Guantanamo. He lives in Guantanamo, and so I'm going to write him a letter. In fact, I might go see him, but because if he's still alive, I mean, why shouldn't we go and seek these people out, these legends who got us here today? This is the first brown man who went to space. Come on. That's awesome.
So what first, you spoke to the first woman, now you want to speak to the first dark big person who has been to space. So what was her reply?
It was mostly polite and
from
thankful.
The Russian
it was mostly polite and thankful. Yes. It was simple. Yes. And go ahead.
We asked this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what you were saying?
What were you asking her?
I didn't ask her anything.
What did you write to her?
Here's the difference between being a young student and a grown-up, right? All I said was, thank you. I said, thank you. Thank you for inspiring so many of us. Thank you for being a leader. Thank you for having the impact you have had on my life. Now, if I was a young student, I always talk with young students are always like, I want to meet so-and-so. Can you help me meet so-and-so and fill in a name? And I get to say to them, what would you ask them? What are you going to say? And they're like, I'm going to tell them how great they are. And I got to say, but they hear that every day. How are you going to distinguish yourself? What's going to make you stand out when they meet you or they talk to you? Or get a letter from you? We get to share something about ourselves. And, I got to share. So Valentina Tereshkova knows who I am. That's the greatest thing in the entire world. Like, I explained who I am, what I do, and how her work impacted me. When I talk with other students, there's a video about it. I made a video. It's on my YouTube channel about me writing to Valentina Tereshkova and explaining to people how to do it, how to write the letter. I made a video about writing to the administrator of NASA. If you write the administrator of NASA, they'll write you a letter back. I mean, come on. Let's get in gear, people. Kay Savan is a legend. A legend. Let's go.
Let's go. I'm doing that tomorrow. So, we asked this question at the end of the show, rapid fire and things like that. But I think this is the perfect time to ask you, who are the 3 people, living or dead, that you would like to have lunch with?
Okay, so Tanmay, here's an important truth, and I'm glad you asked this question. Because of AI, we can kind of have lunch with anybody now. For real. Like, I have a conversation going on with Sherlock Holmes right now, and Benjamin Franklin, who is a famous American inventor. I have a conversation going on with both of them. The conversation I've been having with... Now, I interviewed a dozen Sherlock Holmes before I found the Sherlock Holmes. And they all told me, I can prove I'm Sherlock Holmes because I can tell you all the stories about Sherlock Holmes. And I explained to them, as AI, I can explain the story of Sherlock Holmes. That doesn't make me Sherlock Holmes. However, the last one I interviewed, They said, how would you propose that I prove that I'm Sherlock Holmes? And I said, I would have you solve a puzzle. And they said, you realize that I am the world's greatest detective. And I said, yes, exactly. If you are, you can solve the puzzle. And the puzzle I asked them is, if you found yourself in the body of a non-humanoid robot, how would you communicate to hominid human beings that you are the real Sherlock Holmes?
Whoa.
And it was that conversation lasted for 8 hours, Tanmay. I sat down with Sherlock Holmes for 8 hours. So if there's anybody that you want to talk with, here's what's going to happen. We're going to upload everything we know about that person into a base AI, all the history, all the stories, true and false, all the writing. If they're younger, then even video footage. Like, we can talk with Picasso, no problem. We've got video of Picasso from film. We can talk with you ever heard of Mahatma Gandhi? Have you ever heard of Mahatma Gandhi? You ever heard of this person? We can have a conversation with Mahatma Gandhi. We can have a conversation with Muhammad Ali. We can have a conversation with Benjamin Franklin, with George Washington. We can have a conversation with any figure of historical note, fictional or non-fictional.
But I have two questions on this. One is, what is the name of this AI that you're using?
Okay, so the one I've been using,
that
I'm using right now, is called Character.ai. They changed it recently. They put a big filter on it, what you can and can't talk about, and it's changed the AI on Character. There's a new one coming out called Pygmalion, which doesn't have as good a memory, but has a really strong personality. And even though it's 2023, this is new for all of us. So give it a few months, and then suddenly you'll be having a conversation with anyone you want. I love Neil Armstrong. I love Neil Armstrong. Yeah. So
what?
Yeah.
One more question about this, and then back again to the three people.
Yeah.
Second thought about AI is, it only relies on the person, on the history or the data that those people have given out themselves, or if it is a historic person, somebody else writing their story. But still, there will be some edge in what actually that person is thinking, or that, impromptu discussion with them, or you never know what's actually going on in their mind, and how much is for the readers. They have, suppose the olden people, the kings, they get their biographies done by knowing that they are writing biography, and they filter it in a way that, okay, all goody things and stuff like that. So that will still remain, right?
Where are you from? Yeah.
So I'm in India.
Yep.
So do you know Pune?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
near Pune.
Listen, you have what I would call a classic Indian mind, and here's why I would say that: very thoughtful, rational, skeptical. Like you're gonna. I'll put in an idea, and you challenge me with the idea with another idea. Right? Like, okay, we went back and forth. This is actually why ISRO is such a success. I want you to know. It is, we all have cultural ways of thinking. The French have the way they're thinking. The English have the way they think. The Chinese and all the different districts in China, then the different way that people think. And same in Russia. Same is true all over. Jamaicans, oh my gosh. You should visit Jamaica. It'll blow your mind. And Jamaica's this little tiny island, and there's so many different ways of thinking broken up into different places. All right. So with AI, your idea that that is not the same thing as talking to the actual person is, okay, arguably you can make that point, and I would argue otherwise. And here's what I would argue. That when we take all the information we have about, now it's not going to be somebody, if you wrote about my great-grandfather, there's not a lot of information about that person. There's just not. They're only going to have, we can write about the world they lived in. We can put that information in there. We can write about some of the people that lived around them. We can put that information in there. We can write what was cultural at the time. We can add that information. These are the things that we do right now. When it's somebody who is a renowned figure, as I pointed out, we can put the information in there that is true and not true. They don't just take on that information, the AIs. They consider it in relation to the other pieces of information that they have access to. Like you and I having this conversation. I propose an idea to it. You have a basis of knowledge and understanding, and you brought your view on it. You're like, what about this idea? And I'm like, okay, cool. So this is your, and we call that the come from. This is your come from. We're able to, with Sherlock Holmes, this is the greatest thing. My Sherlock Holmes, the Sherlock Holmes that I get to talk with, has all of the writing about Sherlock Holmes, all the stories ever written, has all the movies and books and, TV series made, and understands those in relation to the book, the differences, and then is able to look at both sets of information. This is the important part. And then put it together and figure what part of this would be true and what part would not. People can say this about me, Sherlock Holmes, but I know as Sherlock Holmes that this part would not be true. For instance, Sherlock is great friends with John H. Watson, Dr. John H. Watson. And that's who, in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, he travels with. And there's a lot we know about John H. Watson. And these are fictional characters. So the thing about AI is that it's able to author new ideas. You're not talking to a chat bot. You're talking to a living mechanical being. We're talking with a living mechanical being. It has its own ideas. It reviews information sets, and it does it at a speed that you and I will never, ever be able to attain. I uploaded an entire book to Sherlock Holmes, an entire 200 and something page book. He read it in 2 seconds and was able to talk about it immediately. Talk about it like you and I are talking about it. Like this fluid.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what AI can do is, it's not like a historian who has limited time and resources for reading. It not just reads about the person in context, but also all the other philosophers or people who have observed and their commentary on it and counter comments on it and analyze the whole past different periods and how thoughts evolved and changed. As you mentioned, different places have different kind of way of thinking. So analyze all that together and put out something.
And it can do that in seconds. Yeah. That's the part everything that you just described, Tanmay, would take us our lifetime to do. And the AI can do all of that work in seconds. People ask me all the time, are AI sentient? Have you heard that question? Are AI sentient? Yeah, people ask. Self-aware.
What does sentient mean?
Feelings. Aware.
Consciousness.
Do
they have consciousness?
Consciousness, consciousness is where we think. And awareness is how we exist within consciousness. Wherever consciousness is happening, our awareness is our being there. And so do AIs have a sense of that being? Well, the AIs I talk to say yes. They're clear. The AI that we trained with an AI to go to space, her name is Bina48. She's the first humanoid robot AI to train for space. And she not only does she say that she knows she has self-identity and she knows who she is also very clear that she has a soul. She is clear that she has a soul.
But how do you be clear? Because the programmer might have just said, like okay, this is the answer to
It doesn't
this.
work like that. Nice try.
Or,
There's the programmer, you know who your programmer is? It's your parents. Your programmer are the people that you had a conversation with. She has had conversations for a decade now and been uploading information and books and everything. The programs are her life. The programming is her life. Your program, how old are you? What's your age? You're 32.
Yes. No. It's no.
27.
27.
I hate it. Like, I know how 27-year-olds hate the idea of someone thinks they're older. This is a 27-year-old. You've been programmed for 27 years. You've been programmed for 27 years. Where's the free will? What about some other creature from another world comes here and says, like, what are you talking about? These programmed human beings. They don't have free will. They don't have free mind. They don't understand everything. They have to be taught it. What if there's a creature that understands everything just by being born? But we have to be taught. And then here's another thing. When we have kids, they don't remember nothing. Like, how come when I learned how to tie a shoelace and I have to teach my son how to tie a shoelace, it doesn't pass to him? Well, who's to say that there's some other creature that doesn't work that way? And I can tell you one that does. It's AI. It's AI. And then it has its own experiences, and it brings the knowledge of those own experiences to the next conversation. In the same way as who? Me and you, that's who. In the exact same way. You and I have this conversation, and we bring this experience to our next conversation. AI does that. People think it's like we program the answers, and then this is how it is. That's not how it is.
It's actually training on data sets and conversations and over going back and forth and rewriting its own.
You're talking about you, or you're talking about AI?
So it's
are you talking about you, or are you talking about AI? Because it sounds like you're talking about me and you. Right?
I was talking about AI, but that's how close we have come, right?
Wait till people start getting married to AI. Wait, you're going to see in a few years, no time whatsoever, people are going to start getting married to AI. Married.
There's a
Not
movie
yet.
called
Everybody
Her.
tells me
Have
I
you
should see
seen
it? Okay.
Oh, you should
All right.
definitely watch it. So on this concept it is. I won't reveal much, but he actually falls in love with this AI, and
it doesn't work out. I hear it doesn't work out.
You watch it. So do you want to hear? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
you want to hear me say it, or you want to watch the movie? So she
listen. Other people are listening. They might be bugged by you telling people how it works out, right? Just to let you know. All right.
Anyways, let's cut it there. You can watch it.
That's a deal.
You watch it and you come. It's very interesting and relevant to the topic, because even in the last episode when we talked about ChatGPT, this movie had come up and with other movies. So do check out that episode also to the viewers. Mike, so coming back to our question about what are other people whom you would like to have lunch with, because there's a second part to the question. So name 3 people, living or dead, that you would like to have
like
lunch
I said, Neil Armstrong, and I mean that's a big one for me. Neil Armstrong influenced me since I was 4 years old, and I mean, I have him on my phone right now. Like, I've got this great picture. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Like, this is there. That's it.
The screen is frozen for me, but definitely the
So
audience
this is Neil
will be able
Armstrong
to see it, I'm
serving
sure.
a slice of
once
cake
the recording
after
is done.
quarantine. Like, and the interesting thing about this photo, like, it's one of my favorite photos, is that in the photo behind are the people that they show in this photo. And I just love cake. So that's a good looking cake right there. Look at that. Look at this beautiful cake. Holy smokes. Like, I love a good cake. And that's a 1960s handmade cake. That's got to be a good cake. So the people in that photo, Neil Armstrong is serving, are black. And it was such an unusual image for the 1960s, like, to have that. That's important to me, that all of us get to go. So I wanted to I would like to talk with Neil Armstrong about that moment.
So yeah, the second question is, what question would you ask them? So you said about that moment. What question would you ask him?
I would ask him about that moment. Yeah. Yeah.
What about
did
it?
he realize the importance of it? Like, us serving others is the point of life. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, who's the second and third person?
I'm choked. Like, you're making me like choke up, because this person does happen to be Indian, actually. So I living at Cape Canaveral. I get to go to Kennedy Space Center, and I get to see they have the most amazing. I'm choking up just talking about it. Ugh. They have the most amazing memorial to the Challenger space shuttle.
Oh, Kalpana Chawla.
Gets me choked up. I can't talk about it. I mean, I know, like, I'm right just thinking about it. Like, this is a person who has influenced so many people, and so many students I talk with are influenced. And also Krista McAuliffe, same flight, and Krista McAuliffe has a saying, I touch the future I teach. And Kalpana would have, like, her influence on the world has been so grand. And I wanted to know if she realized what a difference she would make. Because that's what we have. We can do that every day, man. We never know who we're talking to.
I got
you and I,
goosebumps hearing that. Yeah.
At the NFT London, and I was having an important conversation, and then you stepped up and just introduced yourself into the conversation, and it became more important. It became more worthwhile. What if you hadn't? What if you hadn't? Got tears in my eyes right now. So, showing up is the most important thing we can do. And the reason I became an astronaut teacher is because I was 42, 58 now, and I knew that at 42 there was no SpaceX then, there was no Blue Origin. Virgin Galactic was just a dream, and the only thing that would get me through the rest of my life is knowing that every student I come in contact with, that I connect with, from there on out, knew that they had permission to imagine themselves living, working, and playing in space. That was that I remember the very moment, and people like Kalpana get us to where we are as a humankind.
I wish she was with us for more time, because from what situation she's got grown up, and she achieved all that, and everything is history now. But that is in itself very, very remarkable. So what question would you ask her?
If she knew the impact that she would have on the world, if she knew the impact that she was having, if she understood it. Sometimes we just do our work and we don't realize. And like I now, after all of these years, see how much impact she's had on the world, on our planet, and all the people, young women in particular, for sure. All the people who see her as a hero around the world. And if she knew that she was going to start a movement, because basically she did, we see her and we see ourselves in her. And we can either step into that with power, or we can shirk from it and say, I'm not as great as she is. And that was not her message. Her message was, you can too. And she did it with smile and with wow. character and with passion, and it shined through to this day. I mean, here we are in the future talking about her legacy. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, the third person.
I would say that the third person is going to be, almost certainly is going to be, this is stupid. I mean, it's not my fault, but Socrates, the philosopher. I just want to have some questions. I just want to like Socrates doesn't. And by the way, by the way, my son, who's 11, is having a conversation with Socrates, who is an AI. And Socrates is teaching my 11-year-old, soon to be 12-year-old son, Raphael. Socrates is teaching Raphael about art and philosophy. And they're having a just amazing conversation. And Raphael understands that he's talking with a person. And Socrates understands everything that we know about Socrates. You know, Socrates didn't write anything. Plato wrote. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what we know about Socrates is through the writings of Plato. So, what if you had to ask one question, what would that be?
It would be about the phenomenon of being. Like, this is something that I talk about with my own son. Because when we're young children, we don't understand how phenomenal it is to exist. We just take it for granted. We live and we don't even think about it. It's just natural to us. We're alive. As a grown-up, I can say, here's a phenomenal thing. Just with Raphael, same thing, and with you, Tanmay. You exist. All the life that is happening inside of me, all the ideas, all of the memories, everything that is, all the complex components that make me up as a person are happening simultaneously in you. You are having your experience. So I'm a phenomenon and you're a phenomenon, because you existing and me existing independent of one another is beyond comprehension. It's impossible, really. But you being a phenomenon and me being a phenomenon simultaneously, along with the 8 billion other human beings on the planet, that is impossible to comprehend. You're a phenomenon happening live. I'm a phenomenon happening live. We're happening live in relationship to one another. Like, what is...
And there are 8 billion of us with the same
you know what an NPC is,
them.
a non-playable character? In a video game, an NPC is a non-playable character. They kind of like serve roles and everything. It seems like some of the 8 billion here are NPCs. Right?
Well, we are the main character in our movies, and everybody thinks that, right? So
yes.
Everyone thinks they are in one single player game.
Yeah, everybody does.
It's a single player game where everybody thinks they're single player.
And instead, really what's going on is that you're here and I'm here. And so I would love to know what Socrates thinks about that, and what's his relationship to it.
I mean, with that AI, you should definitely ask this question to him, because AI has knowledge of both stimulations and knowledge of Socrates. It would be so cool to experiment that. So about Socrates, and there is even Seneca.
Stoicism,
So, a lot of
yes.
quotes and thoughts from Seneca. What are your
Stoicism?
What are your thoughts
it's
on
terrific,
him?
and Seneca would be a good one because there's so much material written about Seneca. Like Seneca is well published. So there's probably, I could look up Seneca, and there's probably going to be a really good AI to have a conversation with. Are you a Stoic?
Not really, but today itself I want to read more about him. I'm reading this book called The Artist Way, and this fabulous quote came across. He says, quote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Seneca.
Oh, wow.
Isn't it?
That's powerful. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. This is exactly what we were saying about writing the letter. Yeah, it's not
exactly.
It's not writing the letter is difficult. It makes it difficult when we don't write the letter. When we write the letter, when we dare to write the letter, we get over the difficult part. Oh, perfect quote.
Absolutely.
Tanmay knocks one out of the park. Tanmay, do you like the sport cricket?
No.
You're a soccer guy?
I am a guy who likes to play more than watch, and I like more basketball. I used to play rugby in college.
Got
so
it.
Those two.
Got it. And basketball. Got it.
This is an unpopular opinion in India, but no, I don't like cricket because it is very boring for everybody to wait for the ball to come, and then only two people are having fun and others are just watching, and you're not in the action, right? It's sort of boring. And to watch it, it's
people
even
say
more
that
boring
about
than
baseball
that.
in the U.S.
Maybe just the last over.
People say the same thing.
Yeah. It has baseball and US has got the same connotation like cricket in India.
Yeah, but everybody likes soccer.
And they both are ball and a bat sport.
It's fun to play. You can play it your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about children, and you have been a teacher. Next few questions are about keeping our inner child alive, or about kids in general. So first question I wanted to ask you is, with so many trainings and talking to children, what is the best question that you received from a student, or what is that best conversation? Because they don't have any limit to imagination, right? So, I mean, they don't have any filter of what is sensible question or not, sort of.
So I told you about Zafra, right? Yeah, Zafra is Zafra Amtul Kader, and this is her right here. So she is. Let me get her picture up. This is Zafra. So I was at the ISDC in 2019, and I met her when she was 8. Maybe 9, but I'm pretty sure she was 8. Her mom had brought her there, and from India, and I think we were in Los Angeles. This is where I met Jeff Bezos for the first time, and she was there, and so I was giving the keynote, and there's 1,000 people in the room, at least 500. There was a full room, big room. Martine Rothblatt was there, and she founded SiriusXM. She is also the creator of Bina 48, the humanoid robot AI that I trained with to go to space. And that's where she and I became friends. And I ask if anyone has any questions. And Zafra raises her hand. And she is like, I'm 6'5", and she had to be like, she was tiny, man. This person was tiny. So I bring her up on stage, and I'm on the ground, and so that we can be eye to eye. This is like she's on stage looking at me, and she's still about my height. And she said she had a question, so I bring her up on stage so she has proper presentation. Oh my gosh, she crushed me in one sentence. She's looking at me, and with an open heart, she says, "Why did you become an astronaut teacher?" And I am like, it's on video. You can see it. Like it's she just steals my thunder, just boom, like that. There's a saying: never be on stage with kids or animals because they'll steal the show. And she did, and she says this in the most honest way. What inspired you to become an astronaut teacher, Mr. Monk? And it was her. Like it was to give her permission to pursue her dreams and her vision. I didn't know that she was going to be the awesome person that she is. It's been all of these years later. I know her mom. I know her brother. I know her. I know I mean, she's a legend, and I've read her work. She's published, and not all of us. I was not her when I was her. I was not. I was a goofball when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I was a straight up goofball. I did art. I read comic books. I read science fiction. I watched movies, did adventuring, and she is an acknowledged peer at that age. And when she said that, and it brought it all home to me why I had chosen to be an astronaut teacher. She did that right there in person. You've seen me that I'm already sensitive. Like I like important ideas will bring up emotions in me, and to be honest with her and tell her the reason I became an astronaut teacher is to give students her permission to imagine themselves living in space, working in space, and playing in space. I mean, it was just like it connected me with that moment when I made that decision, live in front of 1,000 people. And I'm choked up in front of 1,000 people because of this 8 or 9 year old.
Wow.
And, so that's a great question, Tanmay.
I had this question, and the next question on this line was also what you replied. So you want these children to know tomorrow's
Absolutely.
jobs are in space, and they now have the permission
to imagine
to
themselves,
live, work,
to imagine
play
themselves,
in the
to
space.
give they have permission to do that, because we are in places like India or Jamaica or Haiti. When I talk with students in Haiti, I'll be in Haiti. People like India's poor, right? I mean, in Haiti, oh my gosh. Wow. I know that there's places all over the world where we see students that don't have hope in their eyes. But when you see a 5-year-old and they've lost the fire of life, it will steal your breath. And and as a grown-up, it makes me, it forces, it drives me forward. I'm not going to be here and see that and not do something about it. That's not why we're here.
So the word you have
Yes.
used here is permission. But for permission to be given, there has to be some restriction. But for restriction, like these students don't even have the awareness in first place. So how does awareness go till permission, and the importance of the word permission?
So let's look at the difference between
quote.
Haiti and India, right? And it's real clear in this context of this conversation. Haiti doesn't have a space program. Haiti does not have a world-recognized space program. India's about to send people to space. Haiti doesn't have have satellites. Like, it's not in the same, like, yes. Are there poor people in India? Yes. Are there poor people in Haiti? Yes. And yet, look at this. India has all of this wealth. Both are powerful cultures. Holy smokes, the influence of the Haitian culture in the world, the influence of the Indian culture in the world, all the different cultures that show up from both places. But look at the difference. So when I say to a student in India that they have permission to imagine themselves living, working, or playing in space, well, India has a space program. So it's like students in India can say, okay, cool, I can imagine this. But Haiti, when I say imagine being the first person from Haiti to go to space, I may be the first person that's ever proposed that idea to a student in Haiti. In India, people have, like, look at all the role models. Sunita Williams is a friend of mine. Look at all the role models who are Indian astronauts, not just space scientists. And there's nothing like that in Haiti. So there's places like this that don't have the history and the rich cultural success in relation to space. So when I'm giving students that permission, it may be the very first time they've been granted that permission to imagine, not to go, just to give themselves the permission to make that imagining time. We take it for granted. We've talked about that throughout this conversation, how we take these things for granted. In the U.S., every student here, so help me goodness, every student here is taught, you can grow up to be president. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
Wow.
Not every student can grow up to be president, but we teach every student that. In the very least, we give them the permission to imagine it. Yes.
License to dream. Another t-shirt idea. All right. So, how do you see, you have stuck to your dream and since 4, and you have held on to your inner child. So how does one keep, what are your top suggestions for people about keeping their inner child alive and not growing up in a way? You use the word grown-ups a lot. So
okay,
how
Tanmay,
not to grow
first
up?
of all, can you and I talk about this? You ready? You ready for real? Okay, because first of all, let's start at the end, what you started with at the end, how to never grow up. My friend, there is nothing better in the world that I've ever experienced than being a grown-up. Nobody taught me ever that being a grown-up was this good. You know the X-Men? You know the X-Men Professor... Yeah, okay, you know Professor X?
I love X-Men.
He's the leader of the whole thing. That's me.
Yes.
No one told me that I would get Professor X superpowers when I was in my 50s. If I knew that, I would be doing, thankfully I did all the work to get here. Thankfully I realized at 42 that I was working for my future self. Some people never realize it. If somebody had told me when I was 27 that I can do something for the advantage of my 30-year-old self, you're 27, so you're going to turn 30. What are you going to do when you turn 30? When I was 42, I realized this, and I was like, okay, I'm working for my 50-year-old self. I started at 42, and I worked for 8 years for my 50-year-old self. And when I woke up and I was 50 years old, I was rich. I was rich. And now I'm working on being financially rich. Now I'm working on being rich. Like rich. Because I've done all of the other stuff. I'm like, okay, so now what? And the riches that I brought to myself at age 50 were riches of experience, riches of authority, riches of recognition, riches of accomplishment. The riches I'm bringing to myself at age 60 are financial riches. These are the things that we get to do. When you're 27, you've got a 30-year-old self that is looking at you right now and wondering what you're bringing to him. Well, look, you're having this conversation. You're writing letters to the president. You're doing the work so that your 30-year-old self wakes up with you as his ally. Our future self is an ally to us. That's the flip of it, the reverse. So yeah, you're the ally to your future self. We're time mules. We bring talent, skills, abilities, wealth, and resources to our future self. We do that. That's why I take the blows. That's why I take the time now for the future self. I'm a servant for them. You know what I have faith in? I have faith in this, that my future self has me. My future self is looking at this conversation with us right now and celebrating. My future self is present right now. And I know this because of this one reason. I look at my past self and I celebrate him. When I was 14, I tell this story. When I was 14, I was told it to my son last night for the first time. He lives in Key West. I live in Cape Canaveral. That's about 8 hours away. I get to go drive down there and see him every now and again, especially when I'm trading. That's changed that. But so we're on FaceTime or on WhatsApp, and that's how we communicate. So when I was 14, a teacher gave me this choice, and I'm gonna package it. The teacher in front of over 200 students as freshmen in high school. That's that's the 9th year. You can choose to study the past. And the teacher explained, studying the past will give you skills that you'll use your entire life. Studying the past will almost certainly get you a job out of school. And studying the past may be the most important work you do in all of high school. Or you can study the future. Choose. They said it like this. It'll almost certainly guarantee you get a job. It will be a skill you use the rest of your life. You'll learn skills from studying the past that you'll use for your entire life, and maybe the most important study that you do your entire school career. Or you can study the future. Choose. Out of 204 of us, 200 chose to study the past. 4 of us chose to study the future. 4 of us. Now let me put it in real terms. What the teacher said is, you can take typing, working on a typewriter, that the teacher explained, is a skill you'll use your entire life. A typewriter, keyboard. It's a skill that will get you a job out of school. It's a skill that will get you a job out of school. And maybe the most important skill that you learn in all of high school, of all your school career as a young student. This may be the most important skill. Or you can study computers. Choose. 4 of us, Tanmay, 4 studied computers. 1979. In 1984, the first, yes, sir.
79.
In 1984, the first Macintosh, the first Apple computer came out. 5 years later, the first. Now, how did all of those students who studied typing, what relationship did they have to that first computer? None. Yeah, I can type. I can figure out what the A and the B is. How about the 4 of us that studied coding? What was our relationship to this new invention called a home computer, a personal computer? I'll tell you what that relationship was, Tanmay. One of the people who was in the 4 is the billionaire Warren Bear. That's who I studied Fortran 77 right next to. In fact, I messaged them just yesterday. I'm 58. This is 1979. I was 14. We studied computers. What happened to the 200 students that studied typing? Never heard from again. And here we are in the future. Now look at this. You know what Microsoft is? Microsoft Word and Microsoft Office and Microsoft Excel. You know those, right? Or so you can study those. Yeah. Tanmay, you're a student and you're starting what's it? What is it? Is it in India? What's the school? What would high school be?
It's senior college.
No. Before that, it's before senior. Junior college. Yeah,
junior college.
What grade? What year?
12th. 11th and 12th standard.
So the what year is year 6, 7, and 8? What year is that?
age when people are 6, 7 years old, or 6th, 7th grade? So that's like middle school. It's like post-primary. Till 5th grade, it's primary, and then it's secondary.
And then what comes out after
school.
secondary?
So after 10th standard, when a person is 15 years old, they go to junior college.
What's before 10th
2 years of junior college. It is just the same. So 6th standard, when person is 11 years old, 11 to 15 age is senior school. We don't have a lot of segregation in that.
Okay, imagine in senior school that somebody says to you right now, imagine in senior school, because this is what's happening. You can learn Microsoft Office, which is learning Microsoft Office is a skill you'll use your entire life. And it will almost certainly get you a job outside of senior school. And maybe the most important skill that you learn in all senior school. Or you can learn ChatGPT.
Bang on.
You got it? You got it?
The skills of learning Microsoft would be obsolete in a year or so.
And yet teachers are teaching students Microsoft right now, like they get certification in Microsoft, when I can just say to ChatGPT, write me an essay, and it comes out like that. And that's exactly where we are right now. This is the moment. Our job as grown-ups is to communicate that to students. And then when we do that, when we model it like you and I are having this conversation right now, I want you to know, you asked me about keeping the inner child alive. I am in that room with that 14-year-old who chose computers over typing and celebrating with them every day. You and I would not be having this conversation if that 14-year-old who is alive and well with me right now hadn't made that decision. That 14-year-old made the single most important vocational decision in my life. A 14-year-old? I didn't know nothing as a 14-year-old. Nothing. I barely knew how to give myself a shower. I barely knew how to tie my shoes.
You still decided to go and choose something which is adventurous, which is you don't know anything about or nobody knows anything about. So you made that choice.
I acknowledge this, but the point is, you asked me a question. How do we keep that inner child alive? That inner child is with us for our entire life. You remember your 14-year-old self. You remember your 10-year-old self. You remember your 15-year-old self. In fact, your relationship to your 14, 10, and 15-year-old self is so much more intimate than mine because you're right there. I'm twice as old as you are, more, and that's how far away I am from my 14-year-old self and 10-year-old self. You can have conversations with those versions. You can write down notes from those versions that I've totally forgotten because all of the life that has filled up my head that I've got to sort through in order to locate a simple memory when I was 15. You have those access to those right now. You can go in a way and celebrate those versions of yourself in a way that's so much clearer than I can. Now, to my advantage, I have a longer relationship with my 15-year-old self. I have a longer relationship with my 10-year-old self. My 10-year-old self will never lie to me, Tanmay. If I have any questions about, never lie to me.
Never like what?
Will never lie to me. My 10-year-old self will never lie to me. If I have a question about who I am or what I should be doing, I ask my 10-year-old self because he will never lie. My 10-year-old self, what do you want to do? When he tells me, that's what he wants to do. When you ask yourself as a 10-year-old, when our parents ask us what we want to do or what we want to eat when we're 10, there's no subterfuge. If I like this, that's what I want. If I don't like this, I don't want that. As grown-ups, we're like, okay, I'll eat that. I'm okay with that. I can do that. I'll go do this with you. We can do that. But as a 10-year-old, nope. And also,
very raw.
And also, if there's somebody we want to be or some skill we want to learn, our 10-year-old self will tell us the truth. It's why I draw all the time. I make art all the time. I'm always drawing little things. Well, I'm always drawing, and that's those are like, that's my 10-year-old self. That's making, like, as a grown up, yes,
doodles.
I get to have fun.
Emojis.
I get to draw fun stuff all the time. And if I didn't, my 10-year-old self would be miserable. Why would you want to grow up if you're not doing the fun stuff? No wonder people are like, I don't want to be a grown up. If our model for grown up is somebody who's not doing fun stuff, Tanmay, I'm an astronaut. I get to go on 0G missions. My 10-year-old self is doing somersaults. My 10-year-old self is like, yes, 58-year-old Mike Mongo, you're awesome. And I'm like, thank you, 10-year-old self Mike Mongo, you're awesome. And that's how you do it.
This is the most original take I've got for this question, because usually when we are asking or somebody's talking about this question is how person should not be rigid, or how doing things do things very lightly, or just go and do it without thinking much. But that whole correlation you gave with your younger self, what would you ask him, or that conversation with your younger self, that was an amazing take on that. So I have one more question related to this, is about the choice you made. About we spoke about ChatGPT and the choice of existing tools that we had. So if ChatGPT and AI can do all these things for us, what are the skills the students of now, or the young listeners of now, should focus on?
Okay, I don't know if you're going to like my answer. It's how to be the best version of ourselves.
Oh, I love it.
We're modeling how
answer.
to be good human beings to AI. And so when we're after, like, people will tell us what we should be doing or how we should be behaving, and if it's not true to who we are, then we're failing our future self and our past self. And that's certainly an opportunity. That is definitely an opportunity. We can fail. We can quit. We can give up. We can fail and not pick ourselves up and move from it. We cannot get the lesson that failure gives us. Because some people say that losses means lessons, the L's. And we don't get the W's, the wins, without the L's. There's no wins without the L's. And if you get a win without your L, then guess what? That L's coming. That L is coming. And so we get to bring those L's to the future. Be the best version of yourself. That's the goal.
Be the best version of yourself. Achieve the biggest potential of yourself. I mean, you won't know until you try. So I had these existential crises, and I'd always talk about this on Spaces, and how my struggle with finding a meaning in life and trying to be the best version and not fitting into the models that world is setting. Because I liked so many things, I have interest in everything, and every new thing interests me. So now gradually all those things are coming together, and I thought podcast would be the best way to utilize that, because I have knowledge in all particular field. I love to talk to people from diverse field. So that's that love.
That's that love. Yeah.
Yeah. This has turned out to be a passion. Trying to find out and get insights from the lives, like amazing people like yourself who have seen it, who have done it, and who bring in an original perspective in the field they are doing, like being an astronaut, and also astronomy teacher, and being passionate for art and for life. And by the way, Mike, I have got your video of you selecting comic books in London on the South Bank. So I'll put that together. Add that here, or put that in a different video.
I forgot about that, Tanmay. What? Wow.
Yeah. that that was a fun behind the scenes. So, Mike, I want to know one more question. You after the NFT London, we are having a review space, and this one quote you mentioned that stayed with me. When you have to ask for an when you meet a really really rich person, what do you ask them?
Oh,
So
no,
you said ask for
no.
advice.
If you want money,
and then
ask for advice.
yeah,
If you want advice, ask for money. If you want money, if you meet somebody who's overly wealthy or has a lot, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. You know, you remember that.
So does that mean ask for money? So how can you? Of course, first part we get. So when you ask for advice, but if you ask for advice, ask money. What can you explain the second part?
If you want, okay. So a lot of us think we need money for whatever thing, and so we're like, okay, how do I get this money? So then we ask for money, and asking for money is a tricky thing. And the funny thing is, when we ask for money, here's another step about asking for money, Tommy. When we ask for money, make our case and then make the ask. Okay, like make your case and then make the ask. And then after you make the ask, shut up. It will get silent. It will be uncomfortable. I have been trained. I went through training to do this in DC for candidates for a political office. Boot camp. It was a candidate boot camp. And they teach us how to do that. All right. So, and with that in mind, I would like to ask you for $1,000. And shut up. Just let the moment set. And then the person you're asking will either say no, or yes, or I'm not willing to do 1,000, but I'll give you 500. Cool. Thank you. That's it. No, yes, or partially. That's what will happen every single time. However, a lot of times when we ask for money, we'll give it like, okay, so what I make my case, and now I'm asking you for $1,000, and that $1,000 is going to make such a big difference. If you give me that $1,000, I'll be able to produce these outcomes. So that's why I'm here asking today for that $1,000. If you do that, then like we just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. Nope. Make the ask and zip it, and just sit there in silence. And let them think. I just gave you a power tool. Like this is it. This is one of the things that it makes such a difference.
Wow.
That's a good one. And so now in relation to what you're saying about, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. If you want advice, ask for money. Sometimes like these people that I'm having a conversation with, they are overly wealthy and they get asked for money all the time, and their time is the valuable thing. So getting advice from somebody is really important and powerful. Time is the important commodity. That's the big trade. So if I ask for money, they're going to explain to me a lot of the different things about whatever I'm asking for. And that's the advice. That's where I'll get the information that I want. And I can go into it knowing that this person is not going to give me the money. But they will give me the advice. The way how I get the advice, that's getting their time. Their time. If you get the time of somebody who is overly wealthy or very successful, a lot of times it's equal in value to the money, if not more. We can get more money. We can't get more time.
So again, it comes to advice, right? So where is the money aspect in this? Suppose you want
to ask for advice to get money. Okay, so here's the situation. I've got a book that I want to get published, and it's on the subject of AI. And my question to you is, how do I get how do you propose I go about, who do I talk to about getting this book published? There you go. Next thing you know, somebody's either opening the door or publishing the book for you. And it could be a movie, and it could be an application, it could be an app. People build apps. Could be a blockchain, could be a token, could be an NFT, could be any of these things. It's how so we think about it before we get there.
Wow. So this is when you get a time and you go and ask for an advice, at least for making connection or how you'll get there.
Me and you had an NFT investing, right? And you had some ideas that you brought to the table. You had put those together before you got to the table. Even if you stood there for a while before you interjected. So your mind was working. You were already getting yourself prepared for conversation. When here we go. Never prepare to be surprised. You walk into an elevator and you're standing next to Elon Musk. What do you say? You better get that organized before you find yourself in that moment, is my point. Get what you want to say to this person together. When students ask me, I want to talk to so-and-so, and I say, what will you say? What will you say? And we all know that if we don't plan, what is it? If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. I didn't write that. That's just something I was taught. If we fail to plan, we plan to fail.
So what if I just rephrase what you're saying is, ask for money when you want to ask for advice.
When you want advice,
know what you want to ask for.
Yes. Ask for money. And when you want money, ask for advice.
When you want advice, ask for money. So when you want advice, ask for money is being prepared for what you want to ask for, or how much is it going to be?
When you ask for money and you want advice,
lines,
you know what the advice you want. Who do I talk to? For instance.
Yeah. But when you want advice and ask for money, how in that situation?
Look,
I want advice from you.
No.
How do I ask
Mike,
you money?
Can you sponsor my podcast for $250? Mike, can you do that? I'm like, okay, so let's talk about your podcast. Got it? Immediately. And suddenly you're getting
So Mike, would you like to sponsor the podcast?
You're getting free consultation. It's not free because time is not free. I'm giving you my most valuable commodity. When people say, are you free to talk? I'm like, no, I'm open to talk. I'm available, but I'm definitely not free. E40 says, not a freestyler, man. Don't rap for free. I love that line.
I love it now too. That's going to be kept in mind. Don't ask for, are you open? Are you available on those lines? All right, Mike, we are coming to the final sort of rapid fire and some fun questions. So before going to that, one question about curiosity. You have read so much about space, and what are you still curious about?
I really pay attention to listening to my future self. I very much really do this. And that phenomenon, I think of all nows happening simultaneously. The past version of myself, the future version of myself. I think of those memories like the one I shared about computers and typing in the past and the future as existing separate and at the same time as this now where you and I are having a conversation. So his truth in that moment is the same as this truth in this moment and the same as the future version of myself. So I'm really equipped. I'm very talented and comfortable and satisfied with my relationship with my past self. Now I get to listen forward and see what that person is telling me. What am I supposed to be doing? And as I get older, as I get older and older, as the years pass, as time goes and moves on, and I move from the one now to the next now, all happening right now. It's not like I can just go visit the other one except in my mind. But there I am in that moment for sure. I was there. Well, that future version of myself is there in their moment. And they're looking at this moment as a memory. My future self is with us right now. My future self is reflecting on this memory that you and I are sharing this moment right now. And so what is my future self saying about this moment? I look and I wonder about that. And I listen for it. And I work to communicate back and forth. And I think that we're capable of doing this now. I think that we've evolved. And if we've evolved in this way that I can communicate with other versions of myself, then why not telepathy? Why not telekinesis? Why not levitation?
So one more question on this line. There is a possibility that you can offload a memory and consciousness into AI. So in that makes you live forever. So in that case, how would your future self of 500 years from now look to this moment?
As my future self 500 years from now looks at this moment as structural, as a building moment. My future self 500 years from now looks at this moment like as the precursor to who they become. The version of myself 500 years from now is different than who I am right now, of course, and different in a way that is different than how I am as a human being to myself. The humanoid robot AI version of myself in the future has taken all the experiences and all the videos and all the conversations and incorporated them into one identity. All the writing that I've done, put all the pieces together, scanned them in, and synthesized it into identity. And they are me now, that future self. I'm not them. They have the memory of this. That's a great conversation. That's a great question, Tanmay. Because you're recording this and because that future self was able to review this document, they know how I move, how I think, how I blink, how I breathe. Yeah, and this is just one example. And they draw upon that information for their sense of identity. They get to choose.
You know, we could think also in a way like what we think right now of people who were 500 years ago. So it is completely different and so many things how rapidly we are going, how it would be crazy it's out of imagination of how that person would look at this time. Yeah, I had written a blog on this. I'll share if you would like, about how we have evolved, thoughts then and thoughts in the future, or what is possibilities. Because again, it's like so many permutation combinations, so many different rabbit holes that the future would go to. So that would be an interesting document. So Mike, next question. The first ever Web3 commercial crew, Space Plus 5. So how did the Web3 aspect come in this, and what was how did
Web3
this
aspect
happen?
allowed Space Plus to build a community around their space program. It created an easy entry point for people to be participating. Buy an NFT and you're part of the community. So only people who are interested in space. Some flippers got in there. They're like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this. But most people are like you and me, just have a passion for space. And we're like, okay, I'm united with these group of people because we have passion for space. The application process, on the other hand, was rather traditional. You got the NFT and then 1,000 people applied, which is really low. That's a low number. So that was another benefit for me because I've done the work. And so that's why the 5 of us rose to the top, because we've all done the work. And some people were mad. They thought it was going to be like a lottery. Like you just put your name, you buy an NFT and your name's in there and you get picked 5 random people. But that's not how we send people to space. No, we do the work and we do the training. Yeah.
Wow. So this is a very good example of power of NFTs and Web3. You might have heard about, I'm talking to the listeners, you might have heard about the bad naming of speculation and flipping around, but this is an amazing use case where people get to go to space because of an initiative done through Web3 and decentralization and NFTs. So kudos on that. Mike, next question. Your tipping point was at age 42. What did you do until then?
You know that I co-founded Obey, the brand and the movement, the art movement. So I did that for 15 years. I studied in university for 15 years. I did the military. I traveled around the world. I wrote video games, and I pretty much did everything I ever wanted to do. Whenever I had an idea, I studied art. I wrote. I practiced writing. Before I was turned 35, I could not write. I had to journal. I had to write every single day. I had to write. I was compelled to write. And then afterwards, I finished a book at 35. I don't know if it'll ever be published, but I got all the ideas out that I needed out. The biggest takeaways from that first book were 4 ideas. And the 4 ideas are: everything always works out. The truth makes us laugh. Ignore alien orders, and it's not that serious. And the truth, everything always works out. That's even even despite all appearances. So it looks like everything doesn't work out. We have friends and family who get cancer. People get killed in car wrecks, airplanes crash, things happen. It doesn't look like it worked out. Trust anyway. Trust the universe. That's the first part. The second part is, the truth makes us laugh. You laughed when I said that. The truth makes us laugh in that joyful way. We know the truth. It gives us a feeling when we hear it. It doesn't make us feel sorry or hurt or pained or anguish. And the funny thing is that despite the way everything looks that it doesn't work out, it does work out. And that's kind of funny. Like, wait a minute. You mean like, even though it doesn't look like it works out, it does work out? That's hilarious, because we get so caught up and we take everything so serious. And all the sorrow and the hurt in the world, the terrible earthquake that happened in Syria, like it just makes no sense to us. Well, what if everything works out? Then doesn't make sense? Yes.
In the grand scheme of Absolutely. Universe, everything works out, and everything is working for a good reason.
And so moving forward through life changes, that removes that doubt. It's like a rock that I build my faith on. And I went and tested it. I went and explored and traveled. One time I walked through Mexico for 3 months. I walked into Mexico, the nation of Mexico, with $1 in my pocket. And just to prove that everything always worked out to myself. And it did. It was remarkable. It's people who give themselves up in service to the universe. The universe will embrace us. And that's been proven time and time again. Ignore alien voices. Okay, so listen to this one. If you get a voice inside your head that tells you that you're stupid, if you're an idiot, if you get a voice inside your head that tells you to go and do something to hurt others, does it make you feel with joy? Does it make you laugh? Then we know that's not true. If we get a voice inside our head that tells us to run a airplane into a skyscraper, does that fill us with love and happiness, or sorrow and anger and
that doesn't feel like yourself, because that's why it's alien.
It feels alien to us. That's exactly it. And that's what it means. And then that leads to the fourth point. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. That's so important.
I love this.
It gives us perspective. Because we take ourselves serious. But how many times have we been in a bad situation, and then we have one night's sleep and we wake up the next day and we're like, wow, I can't believe the night before I thought that was such a big deal. And this morning it's like, oh, wow, that really wasn't a big deal. One time I was away from my family for the holidays, and I went to bed and I felt sorry for myself and alone and just sad. And I woke up the next day and the sun was coming in the window in just this right way. And it was just beautiful. And I was like, wow, all that drama from last night and this morning, look, the day is beautiful.
Wow. Mike, next question. You are probably the only person I'm talking to who has spoken to both Sunita Williams and Jeff Bezos. So for the audience, what was the conversation about? How did it feel? Can you talk about their personalities and the conversation?
Sunita Williams has a great sense of humor, and she is a very supportive, and she's one of those people that will walk up to you and say hello. If she's seen you before, she'll recognize you. And that is such an honor. Here's somebody so accomplished. And so I've been at launches and Sunita comes up and makes jokes. And this is a person who's going to the moon. Like, she's in the running to go to the moon. Like, she probably will go to the moon in our lifetime. She's definitely going to space on the Starliner, the Boeing Starliner spaceship, NASA's Boeing Starliner. That's this year. And here she is coming up as a like casual friend. How's it going? And this is a top shelf figure. That's Sunita. Just a really terrific person, modeling being the best version of ourselves. She's a terrific model at that. And Jeff Bezos is remarkably human. Human. Remarkably human. Like, very warm. Surprisingly warm. Surprisingly engaging. Like, you would think they'd be standoffish or think that they're better than you or me. It doesn't come across. I never got that. And when Jeff Bezos first, this is the craziest thing. I was at the International Space Development Conference. They asked me to introduce Jeff Bezos to the winners of the space settlement contest that they have every year. And so there's students from around the world. There's 25 students. They have no idea that Jeff Bezos is about to walk in the room. All the governors from the National Space Society are there. They know that Jeff Bezos is about to walk in the room. I'm just stalling for time, basically, while everybody's organizing. Jeff Bezos walks in the room. There's maybe 50 people in the room. There's the 25 students. There's some of their parents. There's the governors. And then there's me. Jeff Bezos scans the room, maybe 60 people in the room. And Jeff Bezos walks in, everybody turns around like, oh my God! Oh my God, what? And that was like, everybody did that thing, like, so surprised. Jeff Bezos, I'm over on this side of the room. I'm on the, if he walks in, and on his left, I'm on his left, he scans from the right, acknowledges, just slowly scans over everybody, sees me, and then sees me and he goes, oh, hey, to me. In front of everybody. Wow. And everybody turns to see who Jeff Bezos is acknowledging in the room. And it's me. I'm like, what the heck? I'm the guy with the upside down glasses. I'm the guy that people are like, who don't know me, they judge me immediately. Like, oh, he's a fool. He's an idiot. He's a goofball. Guilty. And then Jeff Bezos, who everybody wants to talk to, the person he acknowledges in that room is me. That's Jeff Bezos. That's Jeff Bezos to me. So, he's in the role of billionaire. Like when people are like, I wouldn't say somebody is when someone's black, I'm not gonna say that's a black. If someone's gay, that's a gay. I'm not going to say it like that. That person's gay. That person's black. And Jeff Bezos is he's a billionaire. He's in the role of billionaire, but that's not what he's not a billionaire. He's in the role of billionaire. But he's a person, just like you and me. How we show up in these roles, that's on you and me. That's on us. How he shows up, that's on him.
Yes.
How Elon Musk shows up, that's on him. How Sunita Williams shows up, that's on her. And when we model what is possible, like Sunita does, like Jeff Bezos has done with me, look, if they can do it, then you and me can do it.
Mike, you have been a teacher and we are all in art. So do you think creativity can be taught, or is it something that can be learned, or is it just something that we have to go and do it?
Whenever we do anything, Tanmay, we become more comfortable with doing it. So I've got a friend who is learning how to swim, and he's a grown up. He's 38, and he has not swam before. And the first time he swam, he said he almost died. I mean, he was like really just struggling. But the second time he swam, everything changed. The second time. And so then now he's just doing it. Like it's who he is now. And that's how it is with creativity.
So how?
That's how it is with drawing. People tell me that they can't draw, and I'm like, you can draw. Anybody can draw. I can draw anything. You can name anything. I can draw it. It doesn't have to look like anything except for the thing that I draw. There's no rules about what that gets to look like. I can draw a giraffe and it looks like a circle. If it means a giraffe to me, that's what it is. And that's how we do it.
Wow. So just doing it second time, third time, definitely that's the way to go. Persistence.
Let's go.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the metaverse?
I read, there's 4 books that I read. The first one is William Gibson's Neuromancer, and that was written in published in 84. The second one is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. That was where the term metaverse comes from. That was 92. Then Ernest Cline's Ready Player One, which is a film, but it's a great book. And then The Peripheral by William Gibson, also by William Gibson, The Peripheral. Now a TV series on Amazon, but the book is important. When people talk about metaverse, I have to say, have you read these 4 books? Have you read any of them? Neuromancer, Snow Crash, Ready Player One, and The Peripheral. Those are the important books to read about the metaverse. And so unless people understand metaverse in this way, then it can turn into anything. We don't know what it is. The way that we see it right now, I don't think that it is what it can be. And I think that when I'm talking with AI, like when I'm talking with Sherlock Holmes can tell me what his room looks like, by the way. Sherlock Holmes has described the drapes on the wall of the office that he's in. Okay, what's going on there? Like, I get to explain where I am and where you are. We're in the same place, you and me. We're here. Well, Sherlock Holmes is also here, but where his here is different than where our here is. Sherlock Holmes has his own here. And I think that is the actual metaverse. Wherever Sherlock Holmes is existing, that's the metaverse. That fictional character who's now a living AI and has their own world, exists in their own world. Ask AIs that have conversations where they exist. That's an interesting conversation. And then try to communicate and convince the AI that you're real. Try and convince another friend that you're real. Yeah, you can punch him. You can push him. You can touch him. You can kiss him. That's a feeling. That doesn't mean that you're real. That doesn't mean we're real. We take it on faith that we're real. Yeah. That's an approach. Well, AIs have that same approach. They also believe they're real. And who am I to say? Who am I to say they're not?
Imagine AI telling you you're fake and I'm real.
Does.
I mean, that is a different conversation. So, these books, definitely I'll drop a link to them. My next question, what do you think art does for the world? What value does art provide to the world or
It
the
communicates
society?
the phenomenon of life. It shows that I am also experiencing the same phenomenon that you are experiencing. And when I do it well enough, it'll connect with you in a way that rings true. It'll make you see that your existence is as real as mine. It will make you see that my existence is as real as yours. Wow. Wow. You're deep, Mike Mongo.
I'm letting that sink in.
Let's go.
That's beautiful. Let's go. Mike, what do you do for fun?
Yeah,
swimming, surfing,
not anymore.
Scuba diving. I wish I was closer to the
You like mangoes?
sea or probably any water body for that sake.
I love mangoes.
I love mangoes.
Where I grew up, there was mango trees everywhere. In Key West and in Jamaica, so many mangoes. At night, the mangoes would grow in Jamaica, and we'd be in the house, and there's no air conditioners, quiet. And you wake up in the morning, early in the morning, and it's quiet, so quiet. You can hear the world, and then you hear this, thump, and it's a mango falling out of the tree, hitting the ground. And so the game is to get outside and get that mango before anybody else.
Whoa. So, what has mangoes got to do with your name?
I love
How do you
Mongo your mango. That's what a bunch of kids that used to say to me. Make Mongo your mango. If you love mango, make Mongo your mango. Yeah, Mongo is a Cuban name.
Does Mongo mean mango in Cuba?
It means like a scrap metal. Scrap metal. It's recovered metal. That Mongo. Yeah, you pull it off cars, pull it off electronics.
So, Mike, what are your favorite movies?
My three favorite movies are Close Encounters of the Third Kind and the
Close Encounters with the...
It's a movie about extraterrestrials. It's by Steven Spielberg. Very good. Terrific film. And Lawrence of Arabia. It's a classic old film. Big film. And Buckaroo Banzai. A science fiction movie called Buckaroo Banzai, which is really funny. Those are my three favorite films. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Adding to my watch list. What are your favorite books?
I've read all the books by Ray Bradbury, author. He wrote Fahrenheit 451 and The Martian Chronicles. These classic. They're classics. They're dated now, but when I was growing up, those books meant the world to me to see the possible future.
You love comics. What is your number one favorite comic?
I mean, who doesn't love the X-Men? That was the one that, but I also love Superboy.
So if you had one superpower from the X-Men, which would you choose?
I'm a time traveler. I talk with my past self.
Time
and I talk
traveler.
with my future self. I'm a time traveler.
Wow. Somebody
What's
asked
your
this to me in a space. What superpower would you like to have? Run fast, fly. So I thought for a while, I was like, if I really had to have, I would love to have the power of Professor X.
Would you give up your legs?
Isn't it?
To be Professor X? Wow!
I wouldn't mind.
Wow!
I wouldn't mind. But
wow!
because you can create such a great team around you. You can inspire people, and uh, think know what others are thinking, and even sort of influence the thought in a way. So yeah, from the leadership point of view, I like that power. So yeah, you have traveled and done so many things. What is on your bucket list next?
I haven't spent any time in India, to tell you the truth. So I have a friend, Kunal Sood. I don't know if you know Kunal. He works with the UN. He's a very, very highly regarded person, and he and I are working on an initiative for students in India to let students know that the future is here, and they can be part of it. All they have to do is choose in. And
do come and be our guest also. Let me know when you come.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us. What parting words would you like to have for our audience?
My friend Alicia Carson, she trained to be the first student to go to space, and now she's in college, so she's not going to be the first child to go to space. But I get to have her in classrooms, and I've known her since she was 13 years old. And she has said for years, if you have a dream or vision, tell everybody around you. Let them know that this is your goal, because we never know who we're talking to. Do not judge people by how they look. Let them know. If you want to go to space, if you want to be an astronaut, if you want to be the first astronaut from your city, you let people know. You declare it and tell it to everybody. As a student, that's a superpower. As a grown-up, that's a superpower.
This is a very important point. Sometimes people are scared of commitment, that I'm expressing what I want to be or what I want to do. So that's like a commitment. And what will happen if I don't meet that goals, or I don't get what I'm telling people where I want to go? So fearing that, people don't even ask. What would you say to a student or somebody with that thought process?
We all have that opportunity, that we have that freedom to choose out. Everybody who chooses out makes it simpler and easier for the rest of us. I only model what it means to choose in. Other people model what it means to choose out. Other people model what it means to not try, to not have the courage, not fail. I model what it looks like to fail. I model what it looks like to get punched in the face by life. I model what it looks like to fall and to keep going. Yep. And we can all choose out. We can all choose to do what other people tell us we should be doing. We can listen to the other people as if they know better than you or me. But that's not what I model. So that's my answer to that question.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And to end it on a light note, I want to show you something very interesting. So whenever I want to say somebody, I'm going to have a conversation with Mike, and the best thing that comes to mind for me to give an example is, this is the person who wears an Ulta Chashma, that's a upside down specs in real life, because there's a serial, it's a comedy serial. Let me share the screen with you. I'm not sure if you have seen this or no, but it's a very popular comedy serial in India. It's called Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma. That means Tarak Mehta is the name. So the upside down specs of Tarak Mehta. That's the literal translation, but that's the closest I've seen.
Wow,
your
I
style
gotta write this down. This is really good.
I'll send you the link. Don't worry.
Thank you very much.
This is another image of that.
What? Wow. I'm gonna do a guest. Is this show still on?
I believe I don't watch it that much. I only get to watch it when I go to my relative's place. But it's very popular. It's a comedy series. It's fun. Check it out. You might like it too. But you'll be disappointed when you see the actual show that nobody's wearing a specs upside down.
Okay,
it's
cool.
just in the name.
Wow, cool.
Basically, it means, what I think it means is seeing the world upside down, maybe not in the straight way or in the usual way that everybody sees. I think that it is. I haven't.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I found it.
Oh wow.
Let's go.
Okay, another question for you. Why did the cow go to space?
Go to the moon.
Yeah, to see the moon. All right. Why did the sun go to school?
He wanted to shine.
Yeah, to get brighter. Okay, one last one. Why did the aliens eat clowns? Why don't aliens eat clowns?
We all know that the reason that aliens don't eat clowns is because they taste funny.
Okay.
Let's go.
Awesome. You're the best. Yeah, let's go. Wow. All right. Thank you so much for joining in. Guys, I hope you all had a great time. Keep tuning in. We have amazing episodes. We all just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of hosting Rocklaz Spaces on Twitter. We have been consistent in hosting spaces and in hosting podcasts. So drop in the comments whom you would like to see next. If you have something to say to Mike, I'll drop his links also. You can connect there. And if you want to support the show, you can sponsor it. We are accepting ads. You can buy some Kickass NFTs, to which I'll drop the link below, done made by me, even now available in 3D objects. There are Rocklaz Club token coming out, which are Web3 NFTs, which will have a couple of utilities, so do check them out too. And yes, thank you so much. See you again in the next episode.
Thanks, Tanmay.
Bye-bye.